I met her in a bookstore in New York City. We never dated. We never exchanged numbers. And she still changed my life forever. She didn't promise me anything. She didn't ask me to stay. But the day she walked away, I learned something about love that most people never understand. Before this story begins, take a slow breath. Not every connection is meant to become a relationship. Not every beautiful moment is meant to stay forever. Some people come into your life quietly, just to remind you how to let go peacefully. This happened to me in New York City. And it changed the way I see love forever. It was late November. The kind of cold that makes the city feel sharper, louder, yet strangely lonely. I had just moved to the city for work. New job. New apartment. New routines. But inside? I felt stuck. I was chasing goals, promotions, recognition. Every day felt like a race I couldn't slow down. That morning, I stepped into a small independent bookstore café in Brooklyn. I didn't go there looking for anything meaningful. I just needed coffee and silence. That's when I saw her. She was sitting by the window, a book resting gently in her hands. Snowlight reflected off the glass, soft against her face. She wasn't smiling at anyone. She was just smiling. Not a wide grin. Not forced. Just peaceful. And for some reason, in a city of millions, she felt still. There was only one empty seat left. Across from her. Is this seat taken? I asked. She looked up. Calm eyes. No hesitation. No, go ahead. That was it. For the next 20 minutes, we didn't talk. We just existed in the same space. The cafe buzzed around us, espresso machines hissing, people typing aggressively on laptops, doors opening and closing. But our table felt quiet. Eventually she closed her book and asked, "Do you always read on Sundays?" I smiled. I usually pretend to. She laughed softly. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just real. Her name was Elena. Over the next few weeks, we kept running into each other at that same cafe. At first it felt accidental. Then it felt familiar. We never exchanged numbers. In today's world, that's rare. No Instagram follow. No texting until 2 a.m. Just conversations that happened when they happened. We talked about city life. About how ambition can become exhausting. About how people in big cities are constantly on, constantly performing. One afternoon she said something that stayed with me. Everyone here is trying to become someone. I'm just trying to be. I didn't know why that hit so deeply. But it did. There was never flirting in the obvious sense. No dramatic compliments. No grand gestures. Just long conversations about simple things. We talked about childhood memories. About how she grew up near the ocean in San Francisco, where sunsets were slow and people weren't always rushing. I told her about my college years in Boston, where I learned to compete before I learned to breathe. One snowy evening, the cafe lost power. The lights flickered out, and everyone groaned in frustration. But Elena just looked outside at the falling snow and whispered, "This is kind of beautiful." I laughed. "The power's out." "Exactly," she said. "For a few minutes, no one can work. No one can chase anything. We're just here." That was the first time I realized she wasn't just calm. She was intentional. Somewhere along the way, I started looking forward to Sundays more than anything. Not because I expected something romantic. but because being around her felt like stepping out of the race. There's a rare kind of connection where you don't feel pressure to impress. With her, I didn't need to talk about achievements. I didn't need to prove ambition. I didn't need to be impressive. I could just exist. And that felt more intimate than any dramatic love story. Still, neither of us said anything about us. We never defined it. Maybe because defining something sometimes ruins its purity. One Sunday, she seemed quieter than usual. Not sad. Just thoughtful. Have you ever noticed, she said gently, that we try to hold on to good things too tightly? I looked at her. What do you mean? We think if something feels good, we have to make it permanent. But maybe some things are meant to be temporary. I felt something shift inside me. Are you leaving? I asked. She smiled, that same soft, steady smile from the first day. I might move back west. Nothing's certain yet. I wanted to say, stay. I wanted to ask for her number. I wanted to secure the future somehow. But instead, I asked, would that make you happy? She nodded. I think so. And in that moment, I understood something new. Real care sometimes means not convincing someone to stay. 2 weeks later, she wasn't there. No message. No farewell speech. Just an empty chair across from mine. I sat there longer than usual, staring at the snow melting outside the window. At first, I felt abandoned. But slowly, something else replaced that feeling. Gratitude. She never promised me forever. She never led me on. She simply shared time honestly and left honestly. And maybe that's rarer than commitment built on fear of loneliness. Months passed. Work became less overwhelming. Or maybe I became less desperate. I stopped trying to control every outcome. Stopped forcing connections. Stopped chasing people who were unsure. I started letting conversations unfold naturally. Some stayed. Some didn't. But I no longer panicked when something ended. Because I had learned something powerful. Not every meaningful connection is meant to become a relationship. Some are lessons disguised as people. Almost a year later, I was on a business trip to California. After a long meeting, I decided to walk near the ocean. The sky was painted in soft orange and blue. And there she was. Standing near the shoreline. For a second, I thought I was imagining it. But when she turned and saw me, that familiar soft smile appeared again. Hey, she said, like no time had passed at all. We walked along the water for almost an hour. She told me she had moved back, started working with a small community mental health organization. Slower pace. More meaning. You look lighter, she said to me. I feel lighter, I replied. There was no dramatic reunion. No confession of hidden love. No movie-style embrace. Just two people acknowledging that they once shared something real. Before we parted, she said quietly, I'm glad we didn't try to force it. I nodded. Me too. And this time, when we said goodbye, it didn't hurt. It felt complete. Here's what I learned from her. Love doesn't always mean holding on. Connection doesn't always require a future plan. And endings aren't always tragedies. Sometimes the most mature form of love is allowing. Allowing someone to grow. Allowing life to shift. Allowing moments to exist without trying to trap them. She was never officially mine. I was never officially hers. But what we shared was real. And real doesn't need permanence to matter. If you're holding on to someone right now because you're afraid to lose them, ask yourself, are you holding them out of love? Or out of fear? Because sometimes the softest smile, the quietest connection, the most unspoken words, teach you the greatest lesson of all. Let life move naturally. And trust that what is meant to stay will stay without force.